we're going to record now. Y muy buenos días, muy buenos días. ¿Cómo están ustedes? ¿Bien?
Sí.
¿Todo bien? ¿Todo
Sí.
bien? Excelente, excelente. ¿Todo bien aquí? Bien, sí. Vale. We are going to, today we're starting to tie some things together. I want to mention first, oh, we still have some folks coming in. I want to mention first before I forget, because Scottsdale always wants me to mention it, for all of Scottsdale's classes, not just this one, registration for January classes starts today. And, you know, no worries because it's Zoom, so I don't have a max number, so it's okay. But they are opening registration for the classes that start in January. I think they start in the teens of January. I think like the 10th or 11th. Okay, 11th. Yeah, I think they, you know, package in there the fact that some people.
I'm sorry, the 10th. You are correct. Monday, the 10th.
Oh, the 10th. Okay, gracias. Yeah, they always assume that people will have relatives flying back that first week of January. So,
What is can I have a question here? What is the other class? I mean, in case one day that I cannot make it into this class in the morning, and then do you have anything in the afternoon, like, you know, in the evening or something?
I have a, yeah, if morning is not good, I have a Wednesday class. And I would say there, people are at, again, kind of different levels, but probably a wider, yeah, there's a Wednesday evening, 6 o'clock till 7:30 class as well, which is called Spanish 1 continuing. A lot of those people have been in there for a very long time. If mornings do not work because of your work schedule, that would probably be the other.
Well, it doesn't call the same way. It doesn't call the same thing, like step 2 class here.
I would say people in that Wednesday evening group are a more a greater range of skills, but still people who kind of struggle a little bit with some speaking, who have to work it definitely.
Okay, but it's
So
not like more advanced,
like super, you know, I can
more advanced. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say they're a little more advanced than this group.
Oh,
Okay, let's put it this way. A little more advanced in what they know, but can they always apply it consistently? Not necessarily.
okay.
If that makes sense. So that means, yes, people will be making mistakes, and oh, well, we'll figure out how to, how to fix it. Yeah, you know, so that's the way that goes. Okay. So anyway, registration is starting, so keep that in mind. Okay, the other housekeeping thing I want to bring up, because again, with holiday weeks being as they are, if you have not yet tried this, and I will give the link to you in the email after class, if you have not yet tried language transfer, do get on there and try that as you would try Duolingo. It has multiple little tracks, and they start, but it is all listening. It approaches language in a much more natural learning method, by which I mean he draws in what you already know from English to build on that. He also does not really get bogged down in a lot of grammar rules, but rather goes by repetition, drag in what you know from English, and build little sentences. The only part I would say that is maybe a detraction, you have to watch where one track ends and the next one begins. It's an absolute transition. So you don't get a break. This is the end of track 1, break. This is the end of track 2. It flows from one track into the next. So you kind of have to watch, but it does look like this, and you can click on a different phase so that you'll see what part of the track you're in. It'll track. Are you in the middle of the track? Are you towards the end? It'll like show you graphically where each one is. But it's a very natural language kind of method. So it is great for building your vocabulary. It is great for showing you patterns. It is great for getting you to do repetition of sounds. So I'm just saying, you do yourself a big favor if you try language transfer. So please do and add that in, I would say, with routine, like you would do Duolingo. And in some ways it is better than Duolingo. They all have their strengths. You know, Duolingo has some things where it can track your speech and tell you how accurate you are repeating the speech, but that's not 100% accurate always. It depends on how good your microphone is and all that. So, okay, everything has its little benefits.
Mary, is that only listening? There's no.
It is a listening. Yes, it is. So, language transfer, I'll put it up on the screen again. It will tell you, because you can do it the web-based, web-based. You can get it out of podcasts. You can have, like, if you have Google Podcasts, or I think Spotify, I think it's on Spotify as well. You can download it as a podcast. It'll tell you YouTube version. You go, oh, YouTube, but you'll see no human beings. The YouTube version only, it shows you exactly what you see, a graph, like it looks right on that screen there. So you will not see talking heads. You won't see people, or you won't see visuals of the words they're using. So I think doing it as a YouTube is not useful, but podcast is useful. And, for those of you who like to do this, like with a morning walk, the podcasting is extremely helpful. So, para que sepan, just so you know, a great, super great thing to add to your routine. Okay. And I am trying to go through, and this is rather tedious, I'm trying to go through that and make notes of where specific items are covered, because they're not listed. Each track does not say, here's the topic we're doing. They just blend from one topic into another with no titles. So I'm trying to break that down. That will take me months. Okay, ¿qué vamos a hacer? We're going to tie together a lot of this adjective thing, and for your homework to follow up, I'm going to give you some prompts so you can come back in next week and actually use some of these adjectives and put them into practice. But we're going to kind of get a feel for how we use these adjectives in practice, because you'll probably have a few little questions about things we did. But we're going to start with something that has nothing to do with adjectives yet. This is rather than, share screen would be helpful with sound, wouldn't it? We're going to start with something not related to adjectives. Well, it kind of is related to adjectives. How to reply to that question, ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Because maybe you get tired of bien and muy bien. Yeah, ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Bien. Muy bien. Okay.
Are you recording yet?
Uy, qué buena pregunta. I thought I was.
Yes, you are.
I think I am. Yeah, I see my light.
Yeah.
Beeping, so that's a yes. Okay. There's going to be a section of this video we're going to skip over because it does some funny things with rhymes, but they're not helpful for you guys at your level. Yeah. Okay. That's my job, to not show the parts that are not helpful.
Es hora de que dejes de contestar muy bien cada vez que alguien te pregunte ¿cómo estás? Soy Paulísima, profesora de español de Spring Spanish, y en este video te voy a enseñar 10 formas alternativas al muy bien.
So you're not going to get exactly 10 because some of those are long rhymes that you don't need and you will not be able to remember to use. Okay, but we'll cover the shorty ones.
Y además te voy a enseñar unas formas que de seguro van a hacer reír a tus amigos. Empecemos. Número 1, súper bien.
Super bien. Super. She's going to tell you super is loved. It is a loved word in Spain and in Mexico, both. People love the word super.
No sé por qué, pero los mexicanos amamos usar la palabra súper. This is a very simple way to change your typical muy bien. Maria Fernanda, my fellow teacher here at Spring Spanish, has already talked about these subjects, and she has in this video some other options for you to answer the question, ¿cómo estás? Paulísima, ¿cómo estás? Súper bien. ¿Y tú? Number 2, genial.
Ay, ay, es fantástico. Genial, genial. No es genial, es genial, genial. Muy popular. This is also a super popular way to respond to ¿cómo estás? Genial. Es como decir en inglés, great, genial.
Genial is like brilliant or excellent. Esta forma de contestar me parece que es más común entre las personas jóvenes, tanto de edad como de espíritu.
I would say not necessarily all young people.
¿Qué onda,
Anybody.
Pau? ¿Cómo vas? Genial. I'm sure you noticed that I ask ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás is a great chunk of Spanish. And a chunk is a pre-made phrase that it's used all the time, that it doesn't change, and that can help you a lot to speak with confidence. By the way, make sure to download our free Essential Spanish Chunking Kit that contains the most important chunks of Spanish that you will need in a conversation to sound like a native almost. The link is in the description. Number 3. Aquí más el verbo en gerundio.
Más difícil, a little bit harder. We're gonna aquí, but you know the word aquí. Aquí. Here.
Yeah.
Aquí plus gerundio. Gerundio means ing in English. Okay. So
con esta forma de contestar puedes practicar además el gerundio de los verbos. ¿El gerundio qué? What? The continuous form of the verb, that's what I mean. Pay attention to the endings ando, endo. This is the equivalent of ing in English. Paulísima, ¿cómo estás? Aquí trabajando, ya sabes.
Okay. So look at that. I'm going to build some of this into your practice next week. Aquí trabajando. So when somebody asks, how are you? Sometimes you say, oh, just working, just cooking, just reading. You know, you're commenting on whatever it is you're doing when the person asks, how are you? It also answers the question, ¿qué haces? What are you doing? Okay, so aquí trabajando, aquí trabajando, aquí leyendo, aquí leyendo.
Reading.
Yeah, so it would be just like somebody calls you on the phone. Hey, what are you doing? How are you? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just
Reading.
See,
Aquí leyendo.
yeah, aquí here. So it's like saying, I'm just doing this. And the aquí tells your listener, well, I'm here and here's what's going on here. Aquí trabajando. So we take the verb, take off the AR or the ER, and we add an ando or a iendo. Iendo, actually not just an endo, E-N-D-O, but an iendo, I-E-N-D-O. Aquí trabajando. I'm just working. And the ya sabes is a great little chunk to know.
Sabes.
You know, just working, you know. Ya sabes, okay.
Paulísima, ¿cómo estás? Aquí descansando, ya sabes.
Yeah. Oh, just resting, ya sabes, you know.
Paulísima, ¿cómo estás? Aquí yendo al súper, ya sabes.
And yendo is a little bit, this is not used all that much, but yendo is what they would use for ir, to go into the gerund, yendo, going to the market, yendo al super, and this is not the super of super bien. This is a super, which is a shortening of supermercado, okay? Yendo al super, just going to the market. So it's kind of like with us saying, oh, just reading, just cooking, just working. Yeah, just listening to a podcast, lo que sea, whatever it may be.
These answers can also be used when you're asked the question, ¿qué estás haciendo?
So this also answers, beside the ¿cómo estás question, it answers ¿qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? So I'm going to plug in some practice with your prompts with this as well, because this is a very common way to respond to people for what you're doing, how are you doing, all those kind of questions.
Add that little ya sabes at the end for extra native speaker credit.
Yeah, ya sabes is something that people do drop all the time. Oh, you know. Yeah, that's how you say it, ya sabes.
And if you're interested in gaining extra native credits and impressing your Mexican friends, make sure you watch until the end because I'm going to teach you a super famous and cool phrase that it's inspired by pop culture.
But that will kind of skip.
Number 4, todo en orden.
Todo en orden means everything in order. And you're going to see the word todo again later on in our other lesson, our other part of today's lesson. Todo means everything or all. Okay, all or everything, all in order. Oh, we say sometimes, hey, how are you? Oh, it's all good. Yeah. You know how in English, como en inglés, se dice all good?
Everything is in order. It's all good. Esta frase, todo en orden, no solo funciona para cuando te pregunten cómo estás, también la puedes usar cuando te pregunten ¿cómo va todo? Let's say regarding a project or a situation. Just learn this. ¿Cómo va todo?
¿Cómo va todo? That's another way of people asking you, how are you, in the idea of ¿cómo va todo? How is everything going? Everything in terms of your work or what you're doing with that day. ¿Cómo va todo?
Todo en orden. Por cierto, a good way to imprint in your brain all the alternatives to muy bien that you're learning in this video is through flashcards.
And we're going to skip this little part because we're going to go to the next part.
Frases
pop
muy graciosas
culture.
para responder la
Remember, this might be the
pregunta,
part we cut.
¿cómo estás? Pero ojo, only use these phrases with friends and people that you can banter with. Y presta atención a la forma en la
This is the part we skip because she's going to give rhyming stuff that will not really be very helpful to you, honestly. So we need to cut that part out. Okay. But now, what if you don't really want to respond with súper bien, genial, todo en orden? Aquí trabajando. What if things are not so great?
Love it. Casi tanto como amo a Belinda.
Okay. It's coming up.
Número 7.
Aquí.
La verdad.
La verdad. And you got to do some with your voice on this. La verdad. La verdad is an intro to cue somebody. And what does that mean? ¿Qué quiere decir la verdad?
The truth.
Really?
The truth, yeah. Okay, so la verdad with your voice doing that means it's the opposite of súper bien, the opposite of genial. Some people even like to say fenomenal. Fenomenal is, super great. What if your day is not going great? But do we always discuss every little ache or pain or every little problem we don't always, but you know, you just want to let somebody know, well, kind of don't ask. Yeah. So, you know, if this is how it's going, when somebody asks, ¿Cómo estás? Right? La verdad. And you kind of flip it back to your listener so that you let them know, well, we probably don't want to get into it today.
Sometimes we just don't want to tell people about the up day that we're having. Yo personalmente no recomiendo comentar cosas negativas.
Yeah, because you know, you don't want to say, well, I just threw out my hip and this and that and that. Yeah, okay. But you want to let them know, well, not so great. Let's move it on. This is what you say, la verdad,
A
and
menos
show
que
you.
estemos
She'll show
teniendo
you.
una conversación íntima. Pero tampoco recomiendo mentir. So, a good way to convey the fact that, you know, we have had better days without going into details is using the phrase la verdad and then revert the question to the other person. Paulísima, ¿cómo estás? La verdad, amigo, mejor cuéntame tú cómo estás.
Yeah. So you throw it, okay, after the la verdad and the kind of, yeah, and you drag that la verdad, you throw it back to the other person who asked you the question. So you're just letting them know, not so great, but let me know how things are on your end, because that's always, you know, what it's the tennis ball that bounced from one court to the next, right?
Marilyn,
Cuéntame, ¿cómo estás tú? Tell me how you are. Sí, Bill.
where does más o menos come in? Is that relative to this?
You could, that is a good point. Gracias, Bill. Más o menos would also be another way, but más o menos is a little more positive than actually. Más o menos is still much more positive than la verdad. Yeah, más o menos is just, well, so, but it doesn't really mean bad, you know? Más o menos is, well, you know, okay. Right? Okay.
Gracias.
But la verdad is sort of saying, well, not so great, but you don't want to get into the details. And you throw it back to the person who asked you in the first place. So más o menos would be still a grade above la verdad.
Is that
Okay.
like comme si comme ça in French? Más o menos?
Like comme si, yeah, it would be exactly like that. Yeah, sí, exacto.
¿Vieron? Tu tono y lenguaje corporal serán suficientes para que la otra persona se dé cuenta de que sí hay algo malo, pero no quieres hablar de eso. Si te vuelven a preguntar, puedes decir, nada, luego te cuento. Paulísima, ¿cómo estás? La verdad, mejor dime tú, amigo, ¿cómo estás? No, cuéntame, ¿qué pasa? Nada, luego te cuento. ¿Cómo estás?
Yeah, okay. And that is another thing that sort of saying that you don't want to get into it. It's not great, but I don't want to get into it now. Nada is nothing. Nada. Luego te cuento. Later to you, I will tell. Yeah, we'd say I'll tell you later, but is luego, later. Te cuento. To you, I will recount. Right? Te cuento is, contar is a verb that means to tell a story. So it's not just decir, to tell facts or information. Contar means you're telling the whole long rolling story of it. Luego te cuento, I'll fill you in on all the details later. That's what it is. So when you don't want to get into it, la verdad and the nada, luego te cuento. Luego te cuento. Later I'll tell you.
¿Vieron? These are all great alternatives to muy bien. But even the word muy is way overused by Spanish learners and actually Spanish speakers. Do you want to try out some alternatives to muy?
Okay, so we'll stop that there and get a little bit of practice in later on with this whole thing of the aquí trabajando, so that you can actually use that with people next week. Okay, a ver.
I have a question. What if you just wanted to say like, not too bad? How do you say that? So because you know, sometimes you can say that pa mal, you know, not too bad.
Sí. Okay, the not too bad, más o menos, is always
Como se
good.
como ça, yeah.
Or regular. Yeah, I've got it in chat box. Regular. Yeah, regular says, yeah, what you think it is. Regular, like, middle of the road, pretty decent. Yeah.
Okay.
Regular, más o menos, means, well, decent, not awful, but not, not genial, not super bien, not fenomenal. Yeah.
Okay.
So the kind of your middle of the road responses will tend to be something more like a más o menos o regular. And even the whole thing of, perdón, that chat box was a fail. Even the aquí trabajando is kind of a neutral ground thing, because you're not really saying you're great or it's bad. You're just saying what's going on right now. So you're kind of conveying to somebody, well, normal day with those kind of responses, right? Nothing special, nothing awful, muy normal. Todo, ¿sí? Aquí trabajando. And the aquí trabajando just tells what it is that you're occupied with at this time. It doesn't really say in terms of gradations, this being the middle, that's way up here or way down here, just, well, doing the usual thing, middle of the day. ¿Sí? ¿Bien?
Sí.
Bien.
Gracias.
Ok. Excelente. Bueno, otra pregunta. Any other question on those? Those are fun little things. Especially the aquí and the ando. I'm going to show you just a little bit more of how the aquí and the ando thing works, so that you'll have kind of a mental framework for how to use that next week. So the aquí part is easy. You already know that means here, right? See, aquí, here is the here. What we do is we combine the here with something that is the infinitive in the ing form. Whoops, perdón. My punctuation goes to different places with Spanish keyboard. In an ing form. So that means you drop the AR, the ER, the IR of the verb, and you add either ando or yendo. Yendo. And I know in the video she said endo, but it's really yendo. Take off the AR, take off the ER, take off the IR. So whatever it is you are doing, you take the infinitive for that verb, drop the AR, drop the ER, drop the IR, and you put an ando or a yendo on. Now, ando is, AR verbs are the most common. So if somebody calls you on the phone and you're in the middle of making dinner, the response is aquí cocinando. Just cooking. Just cooking, right? You would say just cooking. Aquí cocinando. And let's tack on, because this is a really nice touch. Ya sabes. Ya sabes is the part. Yeah, ya sabes. Just cooking, Yeah, that's what that means. Aquí, bien. Aquí, what if what you're doing is, oh, you're just cleaning. Oh, your friend just broke up that phone call. You were doing boring cleaning. Limpiar. How would we use limpiar with this?
Limpiando.
Limpiando.
Aquí
Limpiando.
limpiando. Aquí limpiando. Aquí limpiando, ya sabes. Just cleaning, you know. Yeah, okay.
Why didn't you say ya sabes? Why did you just say sabes?
Because it can be either one.
And have you told us yet
Ja-
when you use
Ja
that?
has about 6 different meanings.
Oh.
And in this context, it's just an extra thing you add to sabes. And ya is like,
There we go.
well, you already know. Yeah, you know. Yeah. The ya
Never
is,
miss.
yeah.
Never miss.
What if what you're doing is you're just eating lunch? We take comer and we make it
Comiendo.
comiendo. Exacto. What if you are listening to a podcast? It
Escuchando.
becomes
Escuchando.
escuchando. Yeah, this one can't be in though. This is why we're doing this to preview, right? Aquí escuchando. Aquí escuchando un podcast. Aquí escuchando un podcast, ya sabes. ¿Sí? Bien. You're doing some studying. Aquí.
Estudiando.
Estudiando.
Estudiando. Aquí estudiando, ya sabes.
Why is listening escuchando instead of iando?
Oh,
Escuchando.
okay. Qué buena pregunta. We've got 2 verbs that talk about that thing you do with your ears. Escuchar. Escuchar is to listen to. To
Oh.
listen to. Y oír es to hear. So oír is more like, well, how we use here.
Seems like
yeah.
it should have that I though, escuchando instead of just
No,
escuchando.
because
Because it ends with
escuchar is an AR verb, so it's
AR.
going to get ando.
Oh, and the
And then AR.
estudiando is an AR verb though.
Oh, yes, but what's the infinitive for this?
Oh, okay.
Estudiar. And when, ahora entiendo,
Okay.
now I understand.
I got it.
That iando is because when I get rid of the AR from estudiar, I still have that I left that has to
Oh.
be pronounced.
So-
So
Is iendo for ER and IR?
exacto, sí. Okay.
Okay.
So when might you hear oír? Okay. Oír is more of a passive thing, whereas escuchar is more of an active thing. Yeah. It's the same difference between hearing and listening. Okay. So when might I use oír? That would be less common, but aquí oyendo los pájaros in el parque. You know, I've got to think of something, you know, just
I hear the parrots. in
hearing the
park.
birds and hearing the birds in the park, because that's a passive thing. You're not listening, like you're not, you know, turning on your podcast. You're not speaking to another human being. It's just like background noise. Oír is what we do with the background ambient noise. Escuchar is what we do when we focus on another human being, when we choose a type of music to listen to, or a program on TV or podcast, whatever. That's the difference. But oír would become oyendo. Oyendo, and that Y
turns
thing.
to Y.
That Y, yeah, that Y thing is, it's a spelling thing. It sounds, so here's why that happens. Oyendo, that's got 4 vowels. Oh, in Spanish, that's a messy thing. Yeah. So what you're really hearing with that is that all those vowels are sliding together. So really, that spelling is a more accurate representation of sliding those 3 vowels of O, I, E together. Okay, it's a spelling thing. Oyendo, oyendo.
Okay.
Oyendo, nobody says because it's too slow. Oyendo, right? When you slide it all together, that's what it sounds like. So, okay. So some of these things that you're hearing are because these vowels all slide together, you know? The vowels are the most crucial thing for you to do right when speaking Spanish. And it's the hardest for English speakers to keep as that consistent pure vowel thing. Okay, bien, but you got the idea. Ando yendo, right? See?
Sí.
Ando yendo. Okay, so that's just that you know what to do when you get that part of the prompt. Okay, a ver. ¿Dónde está? Okay, on to the whole adjective thing. And I'm going to start at various parts of this. We also had, and I gave this to you as homework. So I'm going to use a real fast forward on this as a review. Momento. Can't do it that way. Perdón. I need to switch my things to the other screen. Okay. This will allow me to get things in the right sequence. Okay. What we want to deal with a little bit, because this is a good time to do this, is a word order thing, which now becomes kind of important. Okay. And the word order thing is that sometimes adjectives, well, what are adjectives? Adjectives are words that talk about, describe, peg a quality, peg important information about the noun. Okay, give us extra information about the noun, the person, place, or thing we're talking about. And what word order do all those words go in? So words you were learning like this, that, these, and those are really just adjectives. They're telling you this, that, these, and those tell you where the thing is. If it's near me, if it's near you, if it's not near me or you, but further away. Okay, so since all these words are pegged onto a noun, they all talk about a noun. Where in the order of things do these all go? And the general rule you learn is that Spanish adjectives go after nouns, and we'll see various examples of that, but sometimes they don't. So what kinds of adjectives don't? Oops, we don't want that. Sorry. Perdón. Okay, so the first category of adjectives that come in front of the noun. Now we're looking at what comes in front of the noun, what comes after the noun. What comes in front of the noun are possessive adjectives. These words, mi, tu, su, nuestro, vuestro, vuestro, they only use in Spain, su, okay? And you'll notice that these are all the singulars. So the plurals add the sound s to the end, yeah? So mi might be mis, it might have to be plural. tú might be tus, su might be sus, nuestro might be nuestros, and su might be a su again, because you'll notice su happens again, might be sus. Okay, we've got actually 3 things we're going to pick apart here. Recuerden, remember guys, me, tú, and su are not gender driven. Me, tú, and su do not have gender peggers, gender notes. Don't do gender. Don't do masculine, feminine. They only do singular, plural. So this is an easy thing because all you got to think about is it a more than one thing? Me might be mis. Tú might need to become tus. Su might need to become sus. So that's little minor speed bump number 1. Yay, no gender, okay? Minor speed bump number 2, but not a hard one, is this word nuestro does have to go into a feminine form if you're talking about a feminine noun. So nuestro, but plural, nuestros. Feminine, nuestra, but feminine plural, nuestras. So that one is a little bit pickier. It does do gender, unlike me, tú, su. And then it will do the plural too. Vuestro is the plural of tú. That's only used in Spain, so most of you don't have to worry about that. Speed bump number 3 with these little possessives is that this word su is super like, I'm going to say overused, but that's not accurate. It is used for many things. It is not overused. It can mean many things. So su can mean his, can mean her, can mean its, can mean your, formal your, right? Can mean their, can be your as in it belongs to you guys. So su can mean his, su can mean their. Sus can mean his, sus can mean their. Su is the one that messes people up, even though it has no gender thing. So you would think, well, super easy, but sus clases could mean his classes belonging to one person. Even though that word sus is plural, it's saying they belong to him. Sus clases could mean her classes. She's got 5 classes a day, you know, a high school kid. Sus clases could mean their classes, right? Su clase, one class, could mean their class, right? Su and sus, it looks at whether it goes into su singular form or sus plural form, depending on the noun, the thing you're talking about, not who owns it. See what I'm saying? Okay. We automatically think of their as being plural, but in Spanish, their will have a singular form, su, and there will have a plural form, sus, depending on the noun, the thing that is owned. The thing that is owned, the thing that is possessed, determines whether you use su or sus, tu or tus, me or mis. Bien? Okay. So, possessive adjectives, but the point here, more importantly, is that possessive adjectives come in front of the noun. In front of the noun. Okay.
I have a question here.
Sí, dime.
So that means that you know, if it's in conversation in person, that probably is easy when you say su mean his or hers by pointing your finger at this person. So that means that belong to her or him. But if it is in the, you want it to write, so you have to mention first on your first sentence, right? Before
you need to know a
replace.
context. You need a context,
Okay.
yeah. So, okay, por ejemplo, qué buena pregunta. Por ejemplo, voy a hablar Voy a decirles, I'm going to tell you guys, voy a decirles información aquí, como un ejemplo. Por ejemplo, mi hijo y mi hija van a salir con sus amigos. Van a salir, they're going to
Friends, walk.
go out.
Yeah.
Van a salir con sus amigos. They're going to go out with
Their friends.
their friends. You know, sus means their, because I'm talking about mi hijo y mi hija.
Yeah.
Bien, okay.
Sí.
Vale. Por ejemplo, el cartero, the mailman. El cartero viene a mi casa con su carrito. My mailman is coming with his cart. Yeah, his little car. Con su carrito. And then it clearly means his, because I'm talking about el cartero, the mailman. Carta is a letter, cartero is a person who brings your letters. Okay, mailman, postman. Okay, vale, so from context, from what you've been talking about or who you've been talking about, you know whether that su word means his or her or their.
Okay.
You just have to pick up from that. Okay, bien, bien. Vale, what other kind of adjectives come in front of nouns? These demonstratives you've been working on. So all of these words that talked about location relative to speaker. Este or esta. Estos or estas, these. This or these, right? Ese or esa. Esos or esas, those. Aquel or aquella. Aquellos or aquellas. Those over there, this, that over there, or those over there. And I want you to think for a minute. Words that talk about possession, my, your, his, her. Words that talk about demonstratives, this, that, these, those. Do they paint a picture in your mind of what that noun looks like?
No.
If I say this wallet,
Yeah.
right? Cartera. This wallet doesn't give you
Doesn't
any
have that.
mental picture of how big it is, what color it is, whether it's old or new or worn out or crummy or dirty or metal or made out of leather. Or, it doesn't tell you anything. This, that, these, or those, or possession does not paint a picture of what this thing looks like. And that's why it comes in front of the noun. Oh, adjectives that don't really paint a picture, that don't paint a picture in your brain of size or color, that don't give you a visual idea, they tend to come in front. Okay. The next category that she talked about was,
like mucho,
and this one, things that talk about quantity. Again, quantity, okay, they tell you how much, but they don't paint a picture of what it looks like, really. They just give you a quantity. Possession, this, that, these, those, telling you like relatively where in space they're located, and these quantity ideas, they come before the noun. They come before the noun because they don't give you a really specific idea. And I'm going to refer some of these quantity,
poco,
review these. Mucho, poco,
suficiente,
suficiente.
alguno, todo y otro.
Okay, so let's look at those. Those are not the only ones, but those are probably the biggie ones. Yeah. Mucho, poco, suficiente, alguno, todo, otro. These just tell you a quantity in a very vague way. Vague. Yeah. These are not specific words, but they talk about quantities in some sort of sense. So these come in front of the noun. One thing I want to caution you about is this big word otro, this last one. Otro is other or another. We never, never, never say un otro. Another. Is un or una. Nope, not with the word otro. Another is all one word. We never say un otro or una otra. Just otro or otra. Another. That's all it is. So we have to be careful with that one as English speakers, because your English brain wants to literally go word by word, and you can't do that now. You can't say un otro. That will sound very, very funny and odd. That will give people a mental skip if you talk to them. What are they talking about? Un otro. Just otro or just otra. Okay. Now I'm going to extend this a little bit. Specific numbers
Todos los días.
also come in front. Okay. So they can be vague quantities or specific numbers or ordered numbers, first, second, third, fourth, anything relating to number or anything related to number or quantity will come in front of the noun. Oh, so there we go. Aquí. And then she gives a few other these ideas of próximo, which means next, and último, which means last. Próximo and último will again come generally in front of the noun. Próximo, último, okay? And they just, that literally the word for next, próximo, literally the word for last, último, which I know looks like ultimate, but último means last. So those words come in front of the noun. And again, those talk about like kind of order, what order something is in. Okay, so those are the themes. So first or last, another one, the things that talk about quantity, again, don't really paint a picture of what that noun is like. Okay, so anything that does not give you a mental picture of that noun, person, place, or thing, it tends to come in front. Okay.
Bueno and malo.
Here are your NBDs of today. No big deal, NBD. Bueno and malo, a lot of people do tend to just throw in front of the noun. Okay. Because again, bueno and malo are kind of blah, really general descriptions. They're not super specific. And that's why. So people will use bueno and malo before a noun or after a noun, and it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of difference. Boom. The no big deals. Okay. So, bien. There we go.
Let me show you some adjectives that change meaning.
These are kind of a big deal, but they're a limited number of words. They're a limited number of words. Some adjectives do change in meaning if you use it in front of the noun versus in back of the noun. So we're going to take a quick look at some of those.
Depending on whether they follow or precede the noun they describe. Okay, I'll show you 5 of the most common ones, but keep in mind the list is longer. All right, número 1, grande, grande. Before the noun, it means great, but after the noun, it means big. For instance, él es un gran hombre versus él es un hombre grande.
Very different connotation. Un hombre grande paints a picture, meaning large in size. Okay. but un gran hombre, and notice grande shortens to gran when it comes in front of a noun. Gran means great, as in of higher importance, okay, because of their job or, you know, what they did in their life, whatever, lo que sea. Okay.
Ella es una gran mujer.
And grande always shortens to gran when it comes in front, and it means great.
Ella es una mujer grande.
And very different connotations, okay? Una mujer grande would mean a large woman. Okay.
The last example. Ellos fueron los grandes héroes de la historia. Number 2, viejo, viejo. Let's take a look at these examples. Los viejos amigos.
Old friends, but old friends meaning you've had them for a long time. So this one you hear a lot. Somos viejos amigos, we are old friends. Somos viejos amigos, we are old friends. We have been friends for a very long time. It is not referring to the age. When you flip viejo to behind the noun, now it refers to age.
And los amigos viejos. So in the first one, we are referring to friends that you have known for a long time. And in the second one, it's just old friends, speaking about age, okay? So a big difference to keep in mind. Next, we have antiguo, antiguo.
Antiguo is a little bit related to that idea of viejo, but antiguo again refers to old, as in antique, ancient. Yeah, we have the word ancient, which is linked from Latin terms to that.
For the noun, it means old or ancient. After the noun, it means previous or last. So you could say, extraño mi antigua casa, aunque era una casa antigua.
Okay, so antigua casa again, because it means previous house, like where you used to live. Yeah. Previous used to live doesn't paint a picture of what that thing looks like. So it comes in front of the noun. But casa antigua already paints an idea of, wow, old building materials. Yeah. Something that has stood on this piece of ground, on this plot of land for a very long time.
Extraño mi antigua casa, aunque era una casa antigua. Número 4, pobre, pobre.
Muy común. This one is super common, guys.
Before the noun, it means poor or unfortunate, okay? And after the noun, it means poor, but in the sense of not having money. For instance, el pobre niño perdió a su mamá.
Pobre
Pobre
niño.
niño
Pobre niño, pobre hombre, pobre mujer, poor woman. Sad, unfortunate, sad, unfortunate. Yeah, pobre niño, sad little kid, unfortunate little boy, pobre in front. This es importante. This one is important. It's used a lot. You know, when you are indicating that you feel bad for somebody, it's pobre. Pobre Juan, poor Juan. Yeah, has nothing to do with his money, maybe.
dio a su mamá. Ella se casó con un hombre pobre.
Now, pobre after the noun means doesn't have money. Yeah, that kind
Ella
of
se
poor.
casó con un hombre pobre. And the last one, number 5, is único. Único. Before the noun, it means only. But after the noun, it means unique. For instance, ella es la única mujer en la oficina.
In front, the only woman. And again, this is kind of related to that quantity idea, guys. You know, única is only, and that is limiting it down to this many people. Okay, so it comes in front of the noun.
Ella es la única mujer en la oficina. Ella es una mujer única. Es una gran mujer. Ella.
So she's a unique woman, meaning possessing of special abilities or qualities, right? So some nouns, or excuse me, some adjectives will use, we'll do a flip-flop. We'll do a flip-flop, essentially. I am also going to send you this website so you can check this out, because this is what we're going to do a lot of practice with next week. You will be given prompts so that you see the difference, so that you use the difference. And this website will give you a little more detail, okay, a little more structure. Although that is really an excellent video, this gives you something visual to kind of, you know, fool around with and visually review it. Una corbata azul, you know, this is the usual thing. Una corbata azul, azul blue starts to pop up a specific color picture in, does it give you a picture in your mind? Then it follows the noun. Una palabra española, you may visualize that or hear it in the hear it in your brain differently than you would hear a Chinese word or an Italian word or an English word, right? La página siguiente, following page. La hora exacta, precise time. Okay, un hombre alto y delgado. When you have two or more adjectives, you use e. So there we use e. If we have two adjectives, we just connect them with the idea of e. That's it. That's pretty simple. So not a lot of thought to that, but here come the things, the adjectives, the little special words tagged onto a noun that have to come in front of the noun. Este sombrero, aquel sombrero, ese sombrero, right? Things that are demonstratives, things that are possessives, me, right? Numbers, which connects back into quantities. And they also give you some other ideas. We're going to take a quick look in a little while at this idea, que, with an adjective, because that's kind of a special category. And then these special indefinite adjectives. And when on this page, they tell you indefinite adjectives, they're really talking about quantities that are vague. Yeah. But any quantity, whether it's specific numbers or quantities that are general, like cada, todo, otro, right? Mucho, poco, those in front. And the bueno and malo, you've got some leeway. So here down here, they're going to give you a different list of words that come before and after and how they are. Yikes, I'm going to try to get, I can't get rid of that little box. Sorry about that. But in any event, words that come before or after and how it changes the meaning. The ones she gave you in the video are probably the most common. I would say that video is a really good rule of thumb. You know, the words like viejo, pobre, nuevo, you don't really have to worry about too much, or mismo, but you know, grande, antiguo, all those words are more commonly used, gran, yeah. Okay, bien. And at the end of this particular webpage that will, I'll give you the link to a little bit later. La camiseta verde está bien, pero prefiero la roja. We even do things like this. The green t-shirt is okay, is pretty good, bien, pretty good. pero prefiero la roja. I prefer the red one. In Spanish, we even do this with adjectives.
La roja.
Taking el, la, los, and las. La roja, the red one. And where we have to plug in the word one in English, they don't need the word one. They'll just take the word for the and the descriptive word, la roja, the red one. ¿Quieres una taza grande o una pequeña? Do you want, or do you like, do you want, yeah, the big cup or the little one? I don't want to repeat taza again at the end, so I can just say una pequeña, little one, right? A él le gustan los edificios modernos, pero yo prefiero los antiguos. He likes modern buildings, but I prefer old ones, ancient ones, okay? And I
Why
can
does that
just,
sentence have a yo in it?
Yo.
And the first one doesn't have a yo in it.
okay, bien.
They both say I prefer.
Because in the first half of the sentence, they're using gustar, like.
Oh, he. Okay.
But in the second half of the sentence, we are switching to a different verb that uses a yo form,
Oh.
right? Gustar doesn't use the yo form, but preferir, to prefer, does use a yo form. Yo prefiero los antiguos. I prefer the old ones. It's because they switched from gustar in the first half to preferir in the second half. Okay?
Pregunta, por favor.
Sí, dime.
But do you have to use yo? Do you have to put yo in there? Can you just
No.
put
You would no. Pero prefiero. You could just say, yeah. You could skip the yo. Sí. Absolutely, you can skip the yo. Okay? Bien.
Thank
you. De nada. Okay. Are we good so far?
Yeah.
Sí?
Sí.
Okay. Vale. Momentito. So, let's review some possessives just for the heck of it. Just to review as a quick review, because we haven't looked at those in a while. Let's take a look, see if you can peg the right one. We're looking at some of these things that come in front of nouns. Your house.
Two.
Talking to a buddy.
Tu.
Tu casa. Bien. Our school.
Nuestra.
Nuestra escuela.
Nuestra.
Right, we could not pair up nuestro. This is one of the ones that needs a gender, right? That
Right.
would not work. Nuestro escuela. Nuestra escuela. Bien.
Nuestra.
His sister.
Su hermana.
Su hermana. Su hermana. My dog.
Mi perro.
Mi perro.
Perro. Y perro.
Their teacher.
Tu profesor.
Tu profesor.
Two.
Su profesor.
Su, because you know because we're telling you we want that context of there, it has to be su. And notice su is only talking about one person. That's why it's su, singular. Her students, and alumno is a different word for estudiante. It's a synonym.
Sus
alumnos.
So even though her is only one person,
Sus.
the noun, the thing we're talking about is estudiante. So we need a plural word for her.
Oh, sus alumnos.
Alumnos.
We need sus alumnos. Because alumnos is more than one. Our classes, more than one class.
Nuestras
Nuestras clases.
Nuestras clases. Bien. Vale. Y uno más.
The classes is feminine, even though
Clase is feminine, yes.
Because it didn't end in an
Clase, yeah, clase, you can't really tell that much from how it's spelled. Is that a feminine or masculine? You have to know it's la clase, la clase. Bien? Your cat,
Tu gato.
Tu gato.
your plural.
Your plural.
Oh,
Oh,
sus
this is
gatos.
kind of, you know what? This is an
gatos.
odd.
Wrong.
Sus-
Su gato.
Sus gatos.
Doesn't sound right.
They mean, you know, actually, if you look at this, none of these is correct. I'll be honest with you. What it should be, because I'm going to tell you right now, they have kind of messed up.
Gato.
What they're looking for is this, but this isn't exactly
Gato.
right because it's not really right because they're saying cat and only
Yes.
one cat. It really should be su gato. That's an error. Su gato. Su gato. It really should be su gato. You know, all of you guys, you have you in your house, you have this many cat, your cat. It should really be su gato. Okay, we're gonna go on to a different one that actually has better review because this is gonna let us. This is gonna let us look at context. And we're gonna give the context here. Our car, which one of those would make sense?
Nuestro.
Nuestro.
Oh,
Nuestro carro. Your dog.
Tu perro.
Nuestro.
two.
Tu perro.
Tu perro.
Tu perro. You need to look at the yellow band up at top. Our friends.
Nuestros.
Nuestros
Nuestros.
amigos. Look at the yellow on top. Your dog is small, becomes
Su perro. Tu perro. Tu perro es
tu
pequeño.
perro. Now, your dog, if you want to say it, your dog as in the usted, your dog, then it would
Su.
become
Su.
su. Right. So this is one of those circumstances where, yeah, it's you know, you got to go by which your, being a your formal or your informal. His children are alone.
Su.
Su.
Sus niños.
Oh,
Niños.
Sus
Now,
niños.
I'm going to pose you the question. Why is it not su niños?
Because niños is
Because
plural.
niños is more than one.
We have to look at niños. Niños determines whether that word su will be su or sus. Even though his talks about only one guy, right?
Mhm.
It cannot just be su for kids, children. Yeah. It needs to be that kind of plural more than one. Okay. ¿Está bien? Vale. Okay. And I'll give you that little site so you can manipulate, play with that a little bit on your own time. Okay. ¿Está bien?
Does it tell you the right answer?
Yeah,
Does it-
because it'll show up in green when you're
Oh.
right.
Okay.
So his farm is big. His farm would be, see, it'll show up in green. If you get it wrong, it'll show up in red.
Okay.
Yeah.
On mine, it's blue, but okay.
Oh, okay. Red is unfavorable. If you see red, you know you're in trouble, okay? So I'm gonna let you kind of play with that because that's helpful. So when I give you prompts, I'm gonna give you like some English prompts and you're gonna try to get the words in the right order, okay? You're gonna kind of start to combine all these things together. So your prompts to come in and do speaking practice in small groups next week will work from English prompts into how do I say this in Spanish, because your brain will be thinking in English, but you've got to plug in the Spanish forms. Okay. ¿Todo bien? All good? Sí.
Sí.
Okay.
Sí.
Bien. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any kind of little question on that so far? Because those are going to be the things that you process and work. No? Nada? Bien.
Nada.
Okay. Does that kind of make sense?
Sí.
The adjectives that paint an actual picture of what that thing is like, that is what will follow the noun. Okay. Vale.
Una pregunta, por favor.
Sí, 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 dime.
Seem to be a little bit confused about your and your, whether it's sus or tu.
Oh, those your, okay. Not your as in the Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, not that.
Correct.
your.
Y-O-U-R and Y-O-U.
Okay. So we're looking at whether your is tu or su. Is that right, Cindy?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
How do I know whether to use tu or tus versus su or sus to say your? That is a question. Okay, that's determined by who you're talking to. Okay.
We're talking about.
You are talking, yeah, you are talking to a little kid.
Two.
Two.
Your is going to be tu or tus every time. You're talking to a little kid. Your is going to be tu or tus every single time. See? Tu perro,
But
your
how about if
doggy.
it's a whole group of kids, like I'm talking to my family here, and they're all here for Thanksgiving, and I'll say, clean off your dishes.
Okay.
Then that
So,
might be sus, right?
Let's be more specific. So, right, exacto. Muy bien. Very good. So, su and sus is the your that you use for more than one you. Right? A plural group, in other words, a plural group you. A plural group you. Yeah, so now notice or the formal. Okay, so notice I didn't have little kids. If I'm talking to 3 kids, your dog becomes
Juice. Juice. G-U-S.
I'm talking to 3 little kids, they only have 1 dog.
Two.
Two.
I'm talking to 3 little kids, they're all walking with the dog.
Two.
Sus.
Your dog becomes
Two.
su perro.
Super.
Too many R's.
Your
Su
dog.
perro. If I'm talking to 3 little kids and they're walking 1 dog, it's su perro. See that, Cindy? See?
Yep.
Bien? Yeah. Because now it's a you plural. And in Latin America, they don't have a familiar form that they use for familiar you. In Spain, they do. In Spain, this would be a different thing. In Spain only, and only in Spain. It would be vuestro perro. That's that special word. But they would only use that in Spain. In Latin America, they won't use that term vuestro. It'll be su. 3 little kids walking the 1 doggy. Ah, su perro. Su perro es muy precioso. Su perro es muy precioso. Hey, you guys. Your little doggy is cute. Because all 3 of them are with that 1 little dog. Okay. You're talking to
1 kid, 3 dogs.
1 kid, 3 dogs. That 1 kid, 3 dogs. Okay, 1 kid, 3 dogs. Buena pregunta.
Tus.
Your dogs.
Tus perros.
Tus perros. Tus perros. 1 kid, 3 dogs. Yeah. Tus perros. Okay. Bien.
Why does it go to tus?
Because it's only 1 kid only 1 kid. 1 kid is walking 3 dogs. They all belong to him. He's got them on 3 leashes, but he's walking all 3 of them. Tus perros, your doggies.
It has to be plural because the dogs are plural.
It has to be plural because the doggies are plural.
Why not tus perros?
Why not? Sus?
Mhm.
Not sus, because it's
It-
only one little kid.
Su is for
It can't be this, tu perros. That doesn't work. This is the actual key word to everything. Perros is the key. It's more than one. So it's going to have to use a plural, your, tus perros. It's only one little kid and he's got 3 doggies on a leash.
Oh.
Bien. I can
But
see
if
what
it's
I'm
your
going to
adult
need.
neighbor, it's. su.
Yeah. Now you're walking in the park and you see some random guy. And the random guy is walking 2 dogs. And you want to say your dogs. Some random guy. You don't know him. You never met him. But he's not a kid. You're not going to use the
sus.
familiar. It's going to be sus.
Tus
Perros.
perros.
Sus perros. Sus perros.
Ustedes. Yeah, yours.
Usted is how you would address that random guy because you don't know him. He's some random guy. Okay. If you're talking probably to your next door neighbor and he is walking 2 dogs, you're probably on a first name basis with your next door neighbor.
Tus perros.
Okay, maybe you're not, but you're likely. Yeah,
Tus
it's going to
perros.
be tus perros. Because likely you're on a first name basis with your neighbor. Likely, I know it might, and if you're not, then you have to switch over into the
Sus.
right. Yeah, exacto. Bien. I can see what I'll need to do. I will devise a special little visual thing for you to do with this next week, but I will need some time to find some pictures to do this with. Okay. You are talking to tour guide is talking to his group, right? And he wants to talk to them about your billetes, your tickets.
Mhm.
Your tickets, guys. Your tickets. Make sure you have your tickets.
Sus.
Sus, because it's more than one ticket. He's talking to the whole group, whole bunch of people, your tickets, right? You would only use tus if you could not do that with a group of people, right? It would have to be one person you're on a first name basis with, a familiar use. So with a group, it's got to be su or sus. Cynthia, does that make some sense?
Yeah, I keep going back to, to me, the usted form is the safe form, if you're casual friends or rather than moving to the tus, like the kid with the 3 dogs. If this kid's no friend of yours, it's just a kid on the street.
But a kid, people always talk to little kids using tu. They'll talk to
Okay.
one little kid using tu. They'll
Okay.
talk to a group of little kids using ustedes, because in Latin America, that is the only plural you have.
Okay.
Latin America is the only plural you, so there's no question. A plural you is no question, it's always ustedes. Okay, Latin America does not use formal you guys and familiar you guys. In Spain, they do distinguish between those. But in Latin America, you guys is you guys, age, familiarity makes no difference. Okay, that idea of familiar you in a group disappeared in Latin America. It disappeared.
So that tour guide, if he's asking me if I have my 5 tickets for the next 5 days, it would also be sus billetes. Is that right?
It might be supposed to be if he doesn't feel that he knows you on a first name basis. It'll depend on how familiar he is. And honestly, once you know somebody for a couple days, they will slip into tú.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the big question. How do you know when you transition from tú to usted? How do you know? You know from
Your
cues.
comfort level.
Comfort level is exactly right. So here's what I'm going to tell you. There is no straight down middle of the road absolute rule with this. I'm going to tell you, amongst little kids, amongst teenagers, amongst people in their 20s into, I'm going to say early 30s, people transition into tú very, very quickly, or they may start off with tú.
Okay.
With little kids talking to each other, it's always tú, even if they don't know their names. With teenagers talking to each other, it's always tú,
Teenagers, for
even
sure.
if they don't know their names. With people in their 20s, because we're always on the lookout for date time, it's always tú. Yeah, but that's the truth. It's always tú. So with very young people, they are likely to start off with tú right from the get-go. Okay. With those of us transitioning from our 30s and up, there is that somewhat more sense of being formal and being safe. Yes. So when in doubt, yes, but when you're talking to a little kid, always tú. One little kid, always tú. Okay. So, but with adults, how fast they transition from tú to usted may vary. Nora, for your question, somebody taking you on a group tour, if they're talking just to you and they're asking you if you have your ticket, just one you, if they've been talking to you for a couple of days, they may feel friendly enough to just say tu billete.
Okay.
I say, especially in Mexico, pretty likely they'll transition to tú after a couple days with a group if they see you all day long.
Okay.
That transition is, there are people who will formally say, podemos tutearnos. We can speak to each other using tú.
Oh,
See, people will invite you, or if they address you as tú, that is an open invitation to use tú with somebody. And I would say take that because that's considered polite.
okay.
Right? They are giving you the invitation of, I don't need to be formal with you. And it is seen as polite to correspond. Oh, yeah, okay, to respond with tú in that way. These are all good questions. Okay. So I'm devising in my mind what we need to do next week with this. I had wanted to do this, but we will probably, did I answer all of your questions on that?
Gracias. Sí.
See?
Sí.
Bien. Okay. Bien.
Cindy, if you maintain to look in your like you were in your 20s, they're gonna keep calling you.
People in their 20s are
using
gonna
tú.
right from the start.
Cindy, they keep calling you with tú, not Sue.
Yeah. Yeah. So one moment. Yeah. So, okay. So the quick answer to that is that young people will immediately go into tú immediately. I mean, it's just what they do. And young people to an older person, if you look obviously older, they will use usted. Well, I know, but they will use usted with you. No 25-year-old would walk up to me and use tú with me, not knowing me. They wouldn't, because they would think I will look like some snotty, rude. I will be snotty and rude. And they don't want to look like a snotty and rude person. Okay, so so a way to look at it is respect. It's respect, okay? Versus, being familiar with somebody. Okay, so I want to say, would I date this person? I'll use to. No. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, but well, you get the idea. But little kids always fall into the two category. You're not going to date them, and little kids will just fall into that two category. So, okay. There is one other thing that I wanted to show you this video, but we won't get time, but I will send it for you to listen to as homework. And it will be, I'm just going to preview like a couple little, a few little seconds. Oh,
Do we have a class next week?
We do have class. Oh,
clase de
CCC.
semana?
Dos más. We have 2 more classes. Dos más, 2 more.
Oh, okay.
The video you're going to be, well, it will be this, Maria. And what she is going to show you is how we use que with descriptions. Que with descriptions. And que usually means what? It usually means what? But in this context, if que is not used as a question, if it's used as an exclamation with an adjective, then que really is how we would use the word how. How pretty, how funny, how sad, how big, how tiny, how cute, how expensive, how pricey that
Qué caro.
Wow, yeah, que caro. How expensive, how cheap that is. Wow, I gotta snatch that up right now. So I will ask you to watch that video for the coming week and to prep some prompts. I didn't want to give prompts to come into for this week because too many people are busy with too many relatives for me to say, do this homework. And so, yeah, so we'll be looking at that. Okay, bueno, ¿está bien? All good?
¿Está bien?
Sí.
Bien, perfecto. Okay, entonces nos vemos. We'll see you guys. I don't have a course number if you're wondering for like registration. I will need to go online. I will try to go online today to see what that course number is because I know some people just want to make sure they don't sign up for the wrong thing. So,
Gracias.
yeah, I'll look that up and I'll put that in the email, but I do have to go into Scottsdale's website.
Gracias.
Okay, ¿está bien?
Okay, well, I wanted to wish a happy Hanukkah to whoever celebrating.
Sí, sí, sí,
Muchas
claro,
gracias.
sí. Empezó, Hanukkah empezó anoche. Began last night, right?
Last
Sí.
night.
Sí, sí, sí.
Last
Feliz. Feliz Hanukkah, yeah, sí.
Yes.
Happy Hanukkah to all of you
Happy
who celebrate
Hanukkah.
that. Exactamente. Ok, vale. Y nos vemos el lunes. I'll see you guys
El
next
lunes.
Monday. Okay.
Yes.
Bueno, adiós. Hasta
Yes.
luego.